All right, again, it is 10 a.m., so we are going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder to everyone that this is recorded and we will be sharing this with our community. Good morning. I want to extend a huge welcome to our second Powhatan Strong Community Coffee Chat Series. My name is Katie Matheny, and I'm the Director of Student Services and Interventions. It is so great to see many of you here this morning. We chose the name Powhatan Strong because that's exactly what we are, a community that stands together. The goal of these sessions is to strengthen the connection between our schools and families. We want to keep you informed, give you space to ask questions, and to make sure your voice is heard. Today's focus is on our Powhatan County Public Schools safety. We're thrilled to have members of our student support team and our administration joining us today to provide information and answer questions. I'd like to quickly introduce our student support. We have Kelly Sarkis. She is our comprehensive intervention specialist, and we also have Aaron Buckner. He is our assistant director of student services and interventions. Today's chat will be facilitated by Mr. Buckner, so I'm going to turn it over to him to provide a brief overview of our agenda and introductions of our special guests. Please feel free to use the Q&A feature that is located on the bottom right hand of your screen. It is a square of 9 dots. Sometimes we refer to it as the waffle. You can type your questions there throughout the presentations. We will get to as many of your questions at the end of the presentation, or one of the building administrators will get back with you following the presentation. Thank you again for being here for our partnership, and let's make this a truly Powhatan conversation. Mr. Buckner.
Thank you, Mrs. Matheny. So as Mrs. Matheny said, we are going to be exploring the topic today of school safety. So our agenda for today, I'm going to do some introductions in just a moment of some of our guest panelists who have joined us. We'll review some of our Powhatan County policies and really what drives our school safety approach here as a division. We'll look at some of our general school safety measures that we have within our buildings, the role of staff and students in making sure that school is a safe and supportive environment for all. As we all know, mental health ties in very closely with school safety. So I'll go through some of the supports that we provide to students for their mental health and wellness, as well as the very important and treasured partnership that we have with our Sheriff's Department and school resource officers here within Powhatan County Public Schools. At the end, we will open up the discussion with some of our guest panelists. If parents or families have any questions, specifically related with school safety, then we'll allow them to be able to speak, including our school resource officer supervisor, Mr. Corbin Kelly, who's Sergeant Corbin Kelly, who's joined us today as well. So as I mentioned, Sergeant Corbin Kelly is here on the call with us. He is the SRO supervisor for Powhatan County Sheriff's Department. We also have all of our school safety administrators, or at least most of them. We have Mrs. Cammie Louth, assistant principal at Powhatan High School, Mr. Chris Pearson, assistant principal at Powhatan Middle School, Miss Stephanie Riviere, assistant principal at Flat Rock Elementary School, and Miss KP Gobble joining us as the assistant principal from Powhatan Elementary School. So I want to give them a special welcome and a thank you for joining us here today. The life of a school administrator can be a busy one. And we appreciate them being here to answer any parent or family questions. So again, the topic that we are covering today is on school safety. As a reminder, as Mrs. Matheny just mentioned, this meeting is being recorded for future viewing purposes. If you have any questions or would like any of your questions addressed at the end of the presentation, we just ask that you drop it into the Q&A as they come up. And if you can be school specific with your questions, if you have questions about how drill procedures or any safety procedures run within buildings, just make sure that you note in there which school that you're asking about. So as I mentioned, we are going to be reviewing fairly quickly some of the safety policies that we have here in Powhatan County Public Schools. Our policies are driven by state code. And then our Powhatan County School Board writes policies that reflect and fit in with our processes and procedures here. So policy EB dictates our school crisis plans. It states that each school develops a school crisis plan that's developed and reviewed annually, and that they conduct and release school safety audits at the end of every year. It also dictates that we have targeted response programs for specific types of different medical events as well, including our cardiac emergency response for cardiac emergencies, as well as our bleeding control kits in the case of a student or staff member bleeding in the building. Additionally, policy EBB reviews threat assessments. So it explains the purpose of a threat assessment team, which we'll dive into a little bit today, including which staff are trained, our school counselors, anyone from instruction, administration, and law enforcement backgrounds, as well as providing any guidance on recognizing and reporting threats. Additionally, policy EBBA reviews emergency trained personnel. So that includes our first aid, CPR, and AED trained staff members in buildings. Each building has 3 trained staff members, and all coaches and athletic trainers must also be trained in first aid, CPR, and AED. Additionally, all of our teaching staff are also trained in first aid, CPR, and AED as required for their teaching licensure every 10 years. We have at least 2 staff members in every building who are both insulin and glucagon trained, and then we also have at least 1 staff member in every building trained in opioid antagonist delivery as well. As far as our safety drills are concerned, those are governed by policy EBCB. All of our fire drills are held in accordance with state code. We do conduct lockdown drills in PCPS, and I'll review some of those drills on the next slide. We do conduct 2 lockdown drills during the first 20 days and 2 additional ones during the remainder of the school year as well. Our bus evacuation drills occur within the first 90 days, and then we also have a second one during second semester. We also hold 1 tornado drill and sudden cardiac arrest drill once per year, and all of our bleeding control kits are also governed under EBCB as well. So as I mentioned, we are going to go over some of our general school safety measures in communication that we provide to both students and families. We here at PCPS do take it as our number 1 priority to keep our students and staff safe. We know that in order to keep students and staff safe within the building, that safety drills are an essential part of just going through that process and making sure that students are aware of what those processes are. There have been some changes in this year. We align all of our drills with the DCJS guidance that comes out. The DCJS is our Department of Corrections and judicial system here in the state of Virginia. And there are 5 main emergency drills that we run here within PCPS. We have our hold procedure, which used to be called our shelter in place procedure, where students stay in place within their classrooms but can continue to be able to work within the classroom as normal. We have our secure drill, which is a brand new one this year, where we lock all outside doors as they normally are, but we secure the outside. So any students who are on recess or maybe outside for a CTE class or a health and PE class will return back into the building. These are reserved for in case of maybe a wild animal out in the community, or there may be an active shooter out in the community as well, and ensuring that our students and staff stay safe. Similar to the hold procedure, students and staff can continue to operate within the building as normal. However, we do ensure that all students and staff are safe inside the building. Many parents and students are familiar with our lockdown procedures. That's nothing new for this year. So it's the concept is locks lights out of sight. So our teachers sweep the hallways, ensure students are not in the hallways. Any students who are right outside their classroom, they'll bring them in, lock the doors, turn out the lights, and ensure that students are out of sight of any active intruder who may be in the building. We also have our evacuate procedure this year. These are going to be location specific. At the high school last year, there were concerns at sometimes about HVAC struggles. So we would at times have to evacuate students to a different classroom if it started to get too hot in there. Additionally, there may be situations such as a fire where we have to evacuate students out of the building. So in this particular case, students and staff would follow administrative directives on where they would need to evacuate if necessary. And then finally, we also have our shelter procedure. These are very situation specific. So whether it's a tornado or an earthquake, we practice those drills throughout the course of the year, and we have different strategies accordingly. During an emergency situation, we use all available avenues to be able to communicate with parents and families if there is an emergency. Some of the areas that we use school messenger frequently to communicate with families. We will also post a Facebook post because we know most of our families are on Facebook, and we'll ensure that those get out via email and text message, as well as in our school division website as well. In order to keep students and staff safe on a daily basis, we have very strict visitor and access control protocol that we go through, and all of our front office staff are trained in to ensure that outside folks are not getting in the building without being first scanned in. So as I mentioned earlier, all of our building external doors are locked continually, and each building has a CCTV security system and cameras inside and out. Each school also has been outfitted over the past few years through a grant process to ensure that we have secured vestibule at the entrance. So visitors must enter through that front door and buzz in and explain to the front office secretary why they are there. They then go in through the vestibule into the front office, where they'll present a valid government issued ID. From there, they'll check in through our IdentiKid visitor management system and display a visitor sticker while they're in the building. Any of our volunteers who receive, or any of our folks and parents who would like to engage in volunteering at our schools do receive a background check before being permitted to volunteer. So some tips for parents. We do value our parents and parent volunteers within our buildings, and we feel that you all are key partners in ensuring that our students are both safe and receive a high level instruction. So as a reminders for parents and families, each school has specific drop-off and pickup procedures. We ask that you follow the guidance of school administrators and our SROs as they move parents through those drop-off procedures. Ensure that your contact information is up to date. If you change your phone number or change an email address, we ask that you contact our school registrars to ensure that we have all of your students' current records. And then while you're at home, and if you know that there's a lockdown drill or a fire drill coming up, we just ask that you reinforce the importance of those safety drills with your student in order to make sure that we can get our students back in front of instruction as quickly as possible. In order to receive communication, we just ask that you sign up for our PCPS social media accounts, whether that's Facebook or Instagram, and refrain from calling your student during a lockdown. These lockdowns, as I mentioned earlier, are intended to be locks, lights, and out of sight, with the goal of being as quiet as possible inside of those classrooms. We ask that in these cases to refrain from calling or texting your students in that case. And if something doesn't seem right, we ask that you contact your student's school, and ask to speak to either an administrator or a school counselor to relay your concerns. When visiting your child's school, just as a reminder, please make sure that you bring a government-issued ID when signing your student out. We ask that you limit appointments to after school hours whenever able. We know that there's times where, and we know that doctor's appointments can be limited, but we just ask if you're able to please schedule those for after school hours to limit students leaving the building. And then, as always, contact your child's school if you would like to volunteer, because as I said earlier, we do cherish and value our parent volunteers. So some of the roles of our staff and students here in PCPS, our school staff are fully trained in our emergency procedures. Each staff teach and train students early on in the school year about what those emergency procedures are. And our school administrators regularly run those school safety drills. And our administrators also debrief and talk about any areas that can be improved upon. Our threat assessment teams also are fully trained every school year. As a reminder, our threat assessment teams, they're a team of professionals who evaluate concerning behaviors with the goal of intervening with the student and preventing any violence in the building. Our threat assessment teams are composed of school administrators, school counselors, school resource officers, mental health professionals, and a classroom teacher to be able to give a whole child approach and really understand what's going on if we receive a threat or threatening language from another student, staff, or parent. For all of as far as the training for our school staff, all teachers, as I said earlier, are CPR, AED, and first aid trained. At least 3 of the staff members, so that's safety admin, school nurses, and an additional staff member, are fully CPR, AED, and first aid certified with the American Heart Association. Several of our staff members in the building are bleeding control certified. And as I mentioned earlier, administrators, school counselors, school psychologists, and SROs are trained in threat assessment processes through DCJS. And they do also receive an annual PCPS refresher training too. We ask for your students, and if you can review with your students, a couple of key concepts that are important to ensuring the safety of everyone in our school buildings. We go by a saying of see something, say something within a building. If something doesn't seem right, we ask that your students report concerning behaviors or any threats to school administration. Parents or students can also directly report behavior via email or silence hurts in grades 6 through 12. So those are our middle school and high school grade levels, and they can access those through the school website or through a class link if a student is submitting it. Being an upstander is an important aspect of ensuring that everybody feels safe in the building. So what being an upstander really means is it means being both active and intervening when they see a bullying situation going on. We ask the students speak up, support the target, and report the behavior to school administration. If your student doesn't feel comfortable, in this case, speaking up and supporting the target in person, certainly reporting the behavior and being willing to give a statement to school administration is a huge help in the process. So when it comes, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of our presentation, student mental health and wellness is a key component to ensuring the safety of all students in the building. Some of the folks that are on our school-based student support teams who support student mental health and wellness are school counselors or our administrators, classroom teachers, and our Goochland Powhatan Community Services Board clinicians who we've partnered with for the past few years. Our school counselors provide short-term brief counseling to our students. It could be in areas such as grief, stress, anxiety, as well, school skills, study habits, things like that. They support our students also in navigating relationships and creating a link between students and any community resources that they may need. Many times your students will see our school counselors in their classrooms in order to deliver lessons on topics such as emotional regulation and bullying in many instances. Our school administrators, on the other hand, are work to create a kind of broader, supportive, and safe school climate. They ensure all of our staff are trained at the beginning of the year to recognize student distress and lead school crisis response teams and threat assessment teams as needed. Our classroom teachers are very integral, important members of our student support teams, as they're really that first line to be able to observe changes in student behavior. We also partner with them to intervene early through supportive relationships. Oftentimes you'll see our teaching staff outside of the classrooms welcoming students in. And as I mentioned, that's really the first line of defense to see if a student is struggling that particular day and if they need some additional supports from our school counselors. On a daily basis, our teachers support a safe, supportive classroom environment, and we thank them for everything that they do for our students. If any of our students are struggling quite a bit from a mental health perspective, we also have a partnership with Goochland Powhatan Community Services Board. They provide more specialized long-term support and can provide and create individualized support plans for our students. And they also work directly with the families to provide any additional outside resources. Our Goochland Powhatan Community Service Board clinicians are referred by a school counselor. There are some forms for parents to fill out, but they've been an absolute asset to our Powhatan County public schools community over the past 3 years, and we thank them for everything that they do. Some mental health tips for families and for parents is, there's 4 main areas for parents to look at. And that's recognizing any distress they notice in their student, making sure that they have access to the appropriate resources, and then if there are instances of bullying and cyberbullying, what can you really do? So when it comes to recognizing distress, it's very important that we intervene for our students early on in the process. If we see any types of sudden behavioral changes, like losing friendships or changes in any sleep patterns, it could present emotionally. So any persistent feelings of sadness or irritability, or any sudden declines in grades or refusal to go to school, these are all signs of potential distress for the student and an indicator for us if something else could be going on. There's also some physical changes that could happen as well. So frequent headaches or stomach aches could be red flags that a student may be struggling with getting into school, or if there's any indication of alcohol or drug use by the student. If you see any of these things coming up, we want to make sure that we resource you and make sure your student is supported. If you feel that they're in crisis, please contact your school counselor or your child's school counselor. And we also have, with that partnership with CSB, we also have access to their same-day intake for any mental health triage that they can assist with. When it comes to bullying and cyberbullying, PCPS is committed to creating a safe environment that's free from bullying. And if you suspect bullying, please contact a school staff member to report it as soon as possible. We'll be delving into bullying more directly and more deeply at our next coffee chat on October 16th at 10 a.m. So we ask that you join for that session as well. Cyberbullying, on the other hand, can sometimes be difficult to detect and often happens outside of school hours. We ask that you remind your students of the permanence of online content and to have open conversations with them about their online lives and their social media use. We recommend setting parental controls, and if you do see any indicators of cyberbullying, to please make sure you screenshot it and report it to administration as soon as you can. So in addition to some of our mental health supports, we also have an excellent partnership with our Sheriff's Department here in Powhatan County. And I'm going to go over some of the aspects of those school resource officers, as well as their roles and responsibilities here in Powhatan County. Our partnership with our school resource officers and the Sheriff's Department is governed by the Memorandum of Understanding, or our MOU, which you can find on our PCPS division website. In that MOU, it's about an 18 to 20 page document, and it outlines the roles and responsibilities of our SROs in PCPS, and also delineates some of our operational procedures for the SROs as well. So these are some of our amazing school resource officers that we have here in Powhatan County. You can see Deputy Gartrell and Deputy Homer on the kind of bookending the group. To the right of I'll go kind of from left to right. So on the very left, we have Deputy Gartrell at Powhatan High School. We have Deputy Tovar to the left at Powhatan Elementary. We have Deputy Miles to the right of him at Powhatan Middle School. Our SRO supervisor, Sergeant Corbin Kelly, in the middle. Deputy Tim Wright to the right of him. Deputy Sadler to the right, to the second from the right, and then Deputy Homer all the way on the right, who's at Powhatan High School. Our school resource officers hold three main roles in Powhatan County. They foremost are law enforcement officer in the building. They oftentimes will assist school administrators when needed. One of their roles within that law enforcement position is preventing crime within the building and promoting safety. And they also, whenever we have situations where students may need to be referred for discipline and may receive some type of outside criminal referral as a result, they do their best to try and reduce interactions with the juvenile justice system by working through Powhatan County diversion programs. We've also used them frequently as our law-related educators. So they'll give law-related lessons in classes and provide any training to staff on law-related topics. And oftentimes, and this is, one of my favorite roles that they have in the building, they oftentimes act as an informal mentor and role model. If you were to go to any of our schools at any point, you could see our school resource officers interacting with students, reminding them of appropriate behavior, and setting a positive example for our students within the building. Our school resource officers, because of their mentorship roles and the impact that mentorship role has, not only within their students K through 12 years, but also beyond, is a very important aspect of the job that they do for us. So some of the responsibilities that they have within the building, first and foremost, they're a member of our school community. As I mentioned earlier, they deliver law enforcement services and assist with our school safety as well. They also monitor our building for safety. Frequently, you'll see them walking around the buildings, providing coverage throughout the school day, and providing a deterrent to any crime that may be committed within the school building. They're also key members of our crisis planning, so they assist with the development and implementation of our crisis and emergency response planning. They train with administrators on current best practices. For example, a few of our school resource officers joined us for a conference over the summer for DCJS and trained with us for 3 days while we were there. And then they're also involved in any emergency drill processes. They collaborate with schools by supporting a positive school climate, resolving conflicts, and engaging in conflict mediation whenever possible. They reduce student engagement, as I said before, with our court system through our diversion programs within the county, and only using those when absolutely appropriate. So now I wanted to open up an opportunity for any questions that we may have from any of our guest panelists that may be more school specific. Mrs. Matheny, did we have any questions in the chat?
We did not have any specific questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, families, if we have any questions, feel free to email myself at aaron.buffner@powhatan.k12.va.us or Ms. Matheny at katie.matheny@powhatan.k12.va.us. And we would be happy if they're school specific or sheriff's department specific to be able to pass those along to our guest Q&A panelists so that they can get back to you via email.
Great. And Thank you, Mr. Buffner, for facilitating the session for us. I also want to thank all of you for joining us today. Your participation truly makes it a more valuable conversation. So we hope you found the information helpful, and we appreciate you taking the time to connect with us. Just a reminder that our next Powhatan Strong virtual chat is scheduled for October 16th at 10 a.m. During the session, we will be further discussing bullying. So we hope you will join us then. Until next time, take care, and thank you again for making our community Powhatan Strong.